Hello.
We're looking at an analysis of Wave Life Sciences' huge single-day stock surge.
Right, the WVE-007 data.
Exactly. So the theme is that phase 1 data for their obesity drug candidate drove this massive move.
Yeah.
Let's look closely at the strengths of this analysis report, up 150% in one day, and see how we can maximize its impact.
Okay, let's jump in.
We can start with an opportunity to enhance the analysis by sharpening the angle. Specifically by leading with the clinical breakthrough, not just the stock price.
Okay.
The report, it immediately grabs your attention with the raw numbers.
The plus 147%.
And the $1.5 billion in value added overnight. What I do like here is that it clearly identifies the real catalyst.
The holy grail idea.
Yes. That WVE-007 is achieving the holy grail of metabolic medicine.
That's clearly laid out. I wonder, though, if we've considered how focusing so much on the stock price jump in the title might, overlook the unique science that actually drove it.
Go on.
The current angle is reactive. It tells the reader what happened.
Sure.
But it doesn't immediately convey the unprecedented clinical difference WV-007 represents. I mean, the simultaneous fat reduction and that 3.2% lean muscle mass increase?
Right.
That fundamentally challenges the current GLP-1s. So the weakness is that by leading with the financial shock, it prioritizes a kind of market sensationalism over the deep domain expertise that, frankly, this audience craves. So the suggestion is that the analysis report should reorient its focus.
To frame it as a direct challenge?
Exactly. A direct, strategic challenge to established treatments from Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk. Leverage that holy grail finding right up front. That's what will draw in the serious readers and immediately justify why the valuation jumped so much. It's not just a stock moving, it's a whole platform validating its core idea.
I hear you. But the 147% jump is the hook.
It is.
If we just lead with a clinical finding, do we risk losing the broader financial audience that's just scanning for big movers? You can't really ignore the pull of a 3-digit gain.
That's a fair point. But for a sophisticated critique like this, the stock surge is the effect, right?
Not the cause.
Not the cause. We want the title to reflect the intellectual heft that justifies that gain. The suggestion is to use the financial result as a supporting point, not the main headline.
Okay.
I mean, this phase 1 data, it doesn't just show promise. It's the first major validation of the company's whole PRISM platform.
Right. It proves the targeted approach works.
Exactly. In a field dominated by these blockbuster drugs, that technical depth is the real value here.
That framing does make the analysis feel much more robust. We need to flip the narrative so the valuation is the result of the breakthrough, not just the headline itself.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get concrete. To strengthen this, instead of a purely numerical headline, we could try things that emphasize the differentiation.
Like what?
Maybe something like, the drug that builds muscle while burning fat. WV's direct challenge to Ozempic.
I like that.
Or Holy Grail data validates PRISM. WV's $1.5 billion jump.
Yeah, both of those instantly communicate the intellectual breakthrough first.
And they still validate the valuation reset, but they signal a deeper analytical intent, not just a recap of the market close.
Exactly. A much stronger start.
Moving on, our second area for review focuses on strengthening the bridge between the phase 1 data specifics and that massive valuation re-rating.
Okay.
The material makes a really strong case for the game-changing nature of the data. It highlights the 9.4% reduction in visceral fat.
And the crucial 3.2% increase in lean muscle.
Right. But then the report moves very quickly from Section 2, the data, straight to Section 3, which is all about market mechanics and analyst upgrades.
Is the connection between those specific clinical metrics, that 9.4% visceral fat loss, and the 3.2% muscle mass gain, and the $1.5 billion valuation reset, is that fully established?
What do you think?
I think it feels like a bit of a logical leap that we could bolster. The uniqueness is stated, sure, but the report kind of assumes the audience will immediately get why those percentages translate into big pharma acquisition interest.
It's assuming a lot of prior knowledge.
A lot. The jump from the clinical data to the market mechanics just overlooks that necessary step of quantifying the competitive advantage, especially compared to the main weakness of GLP-1 drugs, which is muscle atrophy.
And the analysis report does correctly identify muscle atrophy as the Achilles heel for these big weight loss therapies.
It does.
I mean, for context, we know patients on these high-efficacy GLP-1s can lose, 25 to 40% of their total weight loss from lean muscle mass.
Which is a huge long-term health issue.
Exactly. And that's the critical piece of information that makes WVE-007's 3.2% gain so transformative.
Exactly. So the report is presenting these two, seemingly small percentages, negative 9.4% and 3.2%. But those numbers, when you put them against the risk profiles of existing drugs, they scream competitive disruption.
Right.
The weakness is failing to explicitly use that context to justify the valuation jump. It's like presenting a perfect antidote without really mentioning the scale of the poison it neutralizes.
That makes sense.
So to fix this, the analysis needs to introduce a transitional element, something that more explicitly benchmarks that 3.2% muscle mass increase against the known GLP-1 side effects.
You're saying it needs to quantify the market risk that WV07 poses?
Yes, this dedicated comparison provides the concrete justification you need to validate that dramatic shift in valuation and analyst consensus. It just strengthens the whole structural logic of the analysis.
That's a practical fix. So the data's there, it just needs to be weaponized through explicit context.
Well put.
A practical solution might be adding a subsection, maybe call it quantifying the advantage, right after the phase 1 results.
Okay.
This section could outline risk reduction stats or just create a simple side-by-side comparison with the data points.
Show me.
You'd have WVE-007, visceral fat reduction, 9.4% muscle mass change, plus 3.2, versus current GLP-1s, visceral fat reduction, X%, muscle mass change, significant atrophy risk.
That's very clear.
This level of detail doesn't just restate uniqueness. It actively justifies those high analyst price targets, the $28 from Leerink and the $21 from Raymond James.
Right. It explicitly links the science to the financial outcome.
Exactly. It ensures the report demonstrates the shift in value rather than just asserting it.
Much stronger.
Our final critique revolves around integrating the financial risk factors directly into the poor investment thesis.
Okay, to improve completeness and focus.
Right. The analysis correctly identifies the key things to watch out for, high volatility, and the potential for share dilution.
But they're grouped together at the very end, in the key takeaways.
Yes.
That makes sense for a conventional summary, but could the evidence also support a more integrated approach to risk here?
How so?
For a sophisticated audience looking at a small biotech that just jumped 147%, the immediate risks, especially share dilution, are critical.
They feel a bit tacked on at the end.
They do. These financial moves aren't just boilerplate warnings. They are high-probability strategic decisions in biotech that dramatically impact short-term returns. They should be analyzed as part of the thesis.
Right.
The weakness is presenting this major financial risk as sort of an appendix item, rather than an integral component of the post-catalyst analysis.
But if we integrate the dilution risk right into the valuation section, aren't we front-loading the negativity? Doesn't that kind of dampen the excitement from the science? You could worry less seasoned readers. Why risk that?
Because any analyst reading this is expecting an honest assessment of the capital structure after a market cap explosion.
So it's not negativity.
It's pragmatism. The $1.5 billion jump gives the company currency. They are strategically obligated to use that new valuation to fund the incredibly expensive Phase 2 and 3 trials for WVE-007.
It's the logical next step.
It is. So the suggestion is to elevate the discussion of potential share dilution and the cash runway out of the general takeaways. And instead, it should be framed as a strategic capital acquisition decision.
One that could cause some short-term pricing pressure.
Exactly. The analysis should integrate this risk assessment earlier, maybe right after the financial health and analyst reaction section, to give a much more holistic view of the whole investment thesis.
This reframing is key. It changes dilution from just a passive warning to an active part of the investment story itself.
That's the idea.
So to make this specific and actionable, we need to adjust the language. Instead of just saying, watch out, keep an eye on potential share dilution,
Right.
the analysis should phrase it in a way that links it directly to the valuation reset and the long-term success of the drug.
Okay, what would that sound like?
For instance, something like this. Given the $1.5 billion market cap addition and the immediate need to fund expensive Phase 2-3 trials, the likelihood of an immediate capital raise through share issuance is extremely high.
That's direct.
Then you add, while this strategically creates a near-term volatility risk, it fundamentally solidifies the cash runway beyond 2027, a necessary trade-off to fully fund the critical WVE-07 clinical path.
Yeah, that approach provides real depth.
It links the financial decision to a long-term viability, instead of just being a simple cautionary note at the end.
Much more sophisticated.
So, as I understand it from this critique, the underlying analysis report is strong. It accurately identifies the catalyst.
No question.
But the real opportunities are in maximizing the impact of that central scientific breakthrough